Hi everyone, David MacDonald here from Vitality Fitness Calgary. We got a question here we're going to talk about today. How do I know how much weight I should be lifting? So whether you're working out on your own, you're working with a trainer, you're with a friend, you're with here at our boot camp at Vitality Fitness. How do you know if the weight that you're lifting is actually the weight that you need to be lifting? Is it challenging enough? Is it too easy? Is it too hard? So it's a great question, and it's something that's very important to know, because you don't want to be lifting weights that are too heavy, but you also don't want to be lifting weights that are too easy for you, because then your body's not adapting. Your body's not going to change if you're not stimulating the muscle enough. So the big thing that you want to focus on and that you want to look at whenever you're lifting a weight is you want to look at your form and your perceived level of exertion. Okay, so these are two very important things to consider. So when we say form, we're going to look at what's going on from the head all the way down to the feet. Okay, so is your posture good? Are your shoulders down and back? That's going to be one thing to look at. Is your neck straight? So is your head in alignment? Are you going to be looking forward and having your eyes look forward? Are you lifting up or looking down or straining to have to lift the weight? Okay, let's go down to the hips and the core. So is that pelvis neutral? Are you arching into the back to have to lift the weight? If you are, then your form is being compromised and the weight's probably too heavy. And then we get down to the feet and the knees. If you're doing a lower body exercise, what does that look like? Are your knees tracking too far forward? Are you not sitting back far enough into the heels? Are you just bending forward and not hinging if you're doing a deadlift? So these are all things that you want to consider, when you're looking at your form. Now, it's going to be very difficult for you to know just working out on your own unless you have a lot of body awareness. And that's why it's great if you have a personal trainer, or if you come to our boot camp and you have our trainers look at your form and technique, because then they're going to be able to give you feedback. Now, another thing that I've been asked before is, well, what about using a mirror? The mirror is actually not a good tool because it's not going to give you a 360 look. Okay, the mirror is going to look at your form and it's going to give you feedback on your form from one angle. So it's not a very good tool in that regard. And when you're looking into a mirror, you're automatically throwing your head out of alignment in your neck. You're having to look over at the mirror while you do something. So it's very counterproductive. You want to have someone looking at your technique, or you want to develop body awareness and practice yourself. So form's number one, and then perceived level of exertion. So that is basically how tired you're getting, how fatigued you are, what the intensity is like. And when you're lifting any kind of weight, you don't want to have the exertion level at a 10, okay, because your risk goes up. The exercise is now too risky, and you're going to risk getting injured or compromising technique. You also don't want your perceived rate of exertion to be a 2 or a 3, because then you're not fatiguing the muscle and you're not working the muscle, you're not stimulating it enough. So you want to have your perceived rate of exertion around, I would say anywhere from a 6 to an 8 would be a good guide. And what you want to do when you're lifting any kind of weight or doing any kind of exercise, you want to ask yourself, how intense is this? How tired am I? What is my exertion level right now? Okay, but we also want to look at, is my technique good? Am I lifting with proper technique? So sometimes people can confuse the two. They think, well, I'm not sweating and I'm not tired, therefore, my exertion level isn't high, so I need to lift more weight. Well, that's not necessarily true. You have to make sure you have the form and technique first, and then ask yourself whether or not your exertion levels are high. Odds are, if your form and technique look really good, your exertion levels are automatically going to go up because you're doing the exercise properly, you're firing the correct muscles. So those are the big things you want to look at. So to answer the question, how do I know how much weight I should be lifting? Your form is number one. Can you hold technique? Okay, if you can hold technique, then that weight might be good for you, especially as you start to get further and further into your set. If you're getting towards the end of your set and your technique's breaking down, or you can feel yourself getting tired, or you don't have a lot left in the tank, that's probably a good weight for you. And the second thing is your perceived level of exertion. So if it's between a 6 and an 8 with that particular exercise and weight, then that's also a good weight for you. So those are the two things you want to weigh in. You don't want to eliminate any of those. You want to factor those two things in, and ideally have someone that's observing your technique and giving you feedback on it. So great question. If you guys have any more questions that you want us to answer, or any topic you want us to talk about, any content you want us to talk about, post it below on our YouTube channel, or you can also reply on our Facebook feed when we post this video, and we'd be happy to make any more videos or post more content on things that you want to hear about. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.